about your buyer persona when you are writing your copy. Bring them into the room and really see if your content, imagine, is what you're writing really going to persuade them to take that one goal that you've set for that page, and that goal should really link back to the goal that you set in Google Analytics and your business goals in general. In this lecture now, we're really getting into the first part of the AIDA process. The AIDA really formula is the way that you are going to structure your sales copy. And the first part of that formula and the first part of successful sales copy is really getting attention. You need to get the reader's attention, and the way that you do that is by writing magnetic headlines. Now, before we get into some of the formulas to write headlines, I think it's really important that you understand how important headlines actually are. And this is going to be the key takeaway from this lecture, is that headlines are really 80 cents on the dollar. And I'm going to explain that really in a second. But if you want your blog post, email, course to have an impact on your readers, the first thing that you must do is get their attention and cause them to want to read further. So before you can really deliver that value to people, the first thing that you need to do is get their attention. That's where the whole process starts. Without their attention, you cannot cause them to be interested. You cannot get them to desire your product or service, and you can't get them to really take action. So it all starts with attention. It's really the most important part of this whole process, and it's the most important part of copywriting as well. Your reader will only be interested in really knowing what's in it for me. Why should I invest my time in reading on? And this is an important point, especially the time that we live in. People really value their time. They're ordering taxis on apps just to save themselves a couple of minutes. So you can be sure that they are really deciding quite critically whether they're going to read your content, because they really want to know what's in it for them and is it going to be worth it. Now, why are headlines so important, and why are they so important for getting attention? And this is the key quote that really comes from David Ogilvy. There's a picture of him here, maybe to give you a visual of it. But really what he said is, on average, 5 times as many people read the headline as read the body copy. When you have written your headline, you've spent 80 cents of your dollar. Now, really what he is meaning there is the headline is what people really read. And he was kind of like an ad guy. I used to buy ad space. So the headline for him actually had a monetary cost. But I think this is a good way for you to think about it as well, that if when you've written your headline, really that is what people are going to see. So that is where you've spent 80 cents of your dollar. It's really where all of your effort should go, because that is what is going to get the most amount of attention. Now, to make another visual of that same quote and concept, I've just put together this diagram here, really showing that only 5% of the people who really see your article or see your tweet or Facebook post or Udemy course are actually going to read down into everything. The first thing that they're going to see is the image, and 100% of people will see that. The next thing is the headline. 80% of people will see the headline, but all the way down those numbers start to drop. The last paragraph gets a bit of attention, usually in journalism, like a wrap-up, a summary of what it is. But the actual content in the middle gets very little attention. But this is kind of the reverse of often where we spend a lot of our time. We really make things harder for ourselves to get those results because we spend little time on the headline, and we spend most of our time writing this body copy, the middle of the page, which gets the least amount of attention. So if you were to do an 80-20 analysis, where should you really be spending 80% of your time? It's on that top 20%, which is really the image and the headline. And that's what I'm suggesting to you. Instead of pouring energy and resources into those small gains, like spending a lot of time on your body copy, focus your attention on the simple changes that make a huge difference. It's really about working smarter and not harder. So now that you understand the importance of headlines and really how they are 80 cents of the dollar in terms of where you should be investing your effort, that's really what you should be thinking about. Now, my recommendation is that when you're writing a landing page, a blog post, or an email, you should really start with the headline or start with this subject line. We really usually start with a post idea, we write it up, and then we try to come up with a viral headline that will blow people away. But it's kind of backwards if you think about it. You know, blog posts don't go viral. It's really headlines that do. It's the headlines that people share on Facebook. It's the headlines people talk at the water cooler, because complex ideas do not go viral. Viral ideas are simple yet impactful. Headlines also set the expectation for the rest of the article. So if you put the blog post first and then only realize later that can't actually be summed up into a viral headline, you'll either write